Hello, animation students. This is Mr. Juarez, and today I'm going to start with our getting acquainted with Adobe Animate. So I'll be walking with you with this tutorial, so it'll be me walking you through it, and I'm going to be taking it each day piece by piece. So some lessons are broken up to part 1 and part 2. For example, today we're just going to go through part 1, and some of it may be easy for some of you, and some may be a little difficult, but just hit pause if you get stuck, and then just rewind. All right, so you have that capability. But before we begin, let's go ahead and start. I want you to go to Canvas because we do have to download some files. You did download files before on Monday, and you can take a look on how to do that on a Chromebook on our Monday assignment. And right here where it says create U drive folders, we've already created these U drive folders. Those of you on a Mac, you're going to be creating new folders, and I will help you in class. So I'm going to be this video should be running in class as I go through it with you, and I'm going to make sure that this lesson is able to be handled in one class period. So I'm going to go ahead and get to work on that. And of course, those of you who are working at your own pace with your earbuds, you're good to go. And so are your the asynchronous students online. So let's begin. So here we have today's lesson, Wednesday, 24th of February, 2021. And you're going to see a walkthrough tutorial and lesson files for tutorials. Now, this video that you're watching, it's kind of crazy, but it is going to be in this area here, the tutorials. So you've probably already seen these files below. This video will be right above it, right about here, but I'm recording it now, but there's a couple of things we need to do. You need to download this Animate 2020 CIB zip folder. Now, what I've decided to do is I decided to give you all the files for all the lessons that we're going to work on or potentially work on in class, so that you don't have to keep, downloading files and files and files. We download one big it's a big file, like 475 megs, and you'll download that into your U drive folder, or those of you at home, or you'll download it into your Animate folder on the desktop for those PC and Mac users. Now I'm going to say PC and Mac users, if you're on a PC and it's not in class, you're probably, unless you have Adobe Animate, you're probably going to have to use the virtual app. But again, using the Adobe Animate might be easier for you if you guys can swing that. All right. But again, that's going to be at an expense that we're not really necessarily going to be adding to that for you guys. So you'll get both of these files. One is the PDF. Now, the thing about the PDF, if you want to walk through or you want to want more detail, because I'm going to be going through this with an audio visual through this video, but if you want to have more detail or you just learn better by following a written tutorial, this is the part 1. So here is the lesson overview. I'm covering all the same things in this video. However, I am not going to be word for word on these, and there's some tips and some notes. If you want to actually run the lesson this way, I'm going to let you do that, and you can kind of bypass this video after this point and just follow this tutorial once you get all your files into your folders. All right. And of course, this is the previous PDF was way too big. So we're going to want to delete that. All right. So I'll go ahead and you'll click that. You just have to basically click that PDF and you'll be able to work with it. And I'm bringing in, this is my animation folder. Now in your U drive, you have an animation folder. For those of you here on the Macs, I'm going to go ahead and go into Documents, and you can go ahead and Documents and create the animation folder that you made in your U drive. Since you're going to be working here in class, you don't need to use the virtual apps because we have them on the desktop. It's going to be a lot simpler, a lot easier for you to actually navigate through this because you have the native versions of the application, but you also have the folders that are really readily available. So you have all the access to have some great times with our tutorials. So anyway, here are some of the things that I've already opened up here. This is, you may have the lessons that from Monday, and you may also have that PDF. So whatever you have in your animation folder, even you have like, I think we had an 01, lesson 01 folder, and you put stuff in it. Whatever you have in your animation folder, just get rid of everything. So basically, whatever's in your drive inside that animation folder, that was an exercise, but I've decided to go a different route. So let's go ahead and trash that. I have my trash here, but you can also right-click it and then hit Move to Trash on a Mac. Okay, so there you go. We have our animation deal here, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually, and I've already downloaded them, download the PDF, which says 01 Lesson 1 Part A, Getting Acquainted, and the zip file, that big zip file. It's actually 424.5 megs. Again, this is in Canvas that you download and you'll put in the animation folder. Now, for Mac users, you'll just double click this. And of course, this has to be in your U drive as a zip, but we can't use zip files. So once it's in your folder, just like you're seeing here, we need to basically unarchive it. So we have to take everything out of that zip folder. That zip file is just a container to keep everything organized. And now you see we have an actual folder with a basic nesting arrow. That's what it's called, because there's folders inside of folders. So but we don't need this zip file anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to delete that folder. So now you should just have a very clean 01 Lesson 1 Part A PDF. And again, you don't have to download it, because remember, you can see it in the browser in Canvas if you don't want to download it. But this, you will have to download it to your U drive, because this, as I open it up, has all the lesson files in here. Okay, has the ends and the start, so we can actually see what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be creating in the class. All right, so here we go. And so we'll go ahead and we'll start working with these different files, and we're going to start with our first lesson. All right, so I'll come back to you in a second, and we will begin our lesson now that we are ready to go, and we'll be working with these lesson 1. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. All right, everyone. Hello. So we're now here, and I've opened up the PDF, and you can see this PDF in your lesson files. And let's go ahead and start getting. We'll go through this a little bit, but and this is of course the getting acquainted area for your classroom in a book. So again, this is what we're going to be covering today. We're not getting all through this, but the next couple of days, for this lesson 1, we're basically going to create a new file in Adobe Animate now. We are going to start from scratch from the very beginning on when we open the lesson. I'm going to walk you through it. Now, we did a couple of these in geometrics, but that was just pretty much theory. I let you guys poke around, and I'm going to actually go through it so we can cover all bases, right? Understand the different Adobe Animate document types, right? Because there's different file types that we're going to be working with. Now, just like when we did the thermotrope and the zoetrope, and we did all these different animations, this is a digital type of realm, but you're going to find out that a lot of these processes are very similar to the things that you already know. For example, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word, Google Docs. There's that copy and paste element, but then there's also all the stuff you learned from last semester, like frames, right? Every frame, especially when we're working with our flip books and your storyboards. So we're going to bring a lot of these concepts into the digital world. So I want you to understand that there is a translation things that happen here. Obviously, we have a lot of new tools, brushes, colors, the different things that we can do, but we're going to actually take it slow. So today we're just going to kind of explore a little bit, right? So we're going to also look at adjust the stage, know what a stage is. Again, using the layers of the timeline panel, we're going to be doing that. More on the layers tomorrow, but right now we're just going to get everything set up because we had a lot of things that we needed to figure out at the beginning of class. Now, I'm trying not to get these to be too long of lessons, just like a daily lesson. Probably trying to run them no longer than 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so that if you have any issues, you have some time to work through them. All right, so I'm not going to try to run it all the way to the end. So please bear with me in these little tutorials. All right, you're going to understand how to manage keyframes in the timeline, and that's important. Keyframes are important, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then work with imported images. Because remember, we want to bring in images. If you're an artist and you have some sketches that you like to do, you want to import them into and animate them in Animate. You can do that. So we'll talk about that. And then remove and reposition objects on the stage, right? That's something we definitely want to work with. Add filters and colors. You're familiar with filters because Instagram and TikTok and everybody has filters, but we have special ones that do a lot more than what the TikTok and the TikTok and the Instagram filters do. Again, we're going to look at the panels. We're going to know what a panel is. We're basically also going to look at the tools panel, and then of course the previewing animation, and then finally saving it. That's all within these lessons. But we're going to do lesson 1, and we're basically just going to cover these first 3 bullets, maybe the 4th one if we have enough time, in this one lesson, which is going to be on Wednesday. So that's all I want you to do today. All right, and just follow with me, and it's going to tell you how to download lessons. But we've already done that, so guess what? We can bypass that. So, and we're going to talk about the animation stage for a bit. The animation stage, and here's a big picture of it. And this is basically, and if you remember from geometrics, this is where the stage is like a stage for a theater play, right? Everything that is shown in a play is on the stage. So in animation, since it's very much like theater and film, we're actually putting all our elements on the stage. Think of also the stage as, maybe a foam board that if you're going to be using a cutout elements for your stop motion animation that you're going to put it on. So the stage is where everything goes. Objects, pictures, we put everything there. That's actually going to be what we export on the stage. So that frame around the stage, right? This frame here, and I'm going to click around so it can make some noise. This frame here is basically our parameters. So everything that you put in the frame, that's what we're going to see when we export it. Okay, in the little animation that we export. Anything outside the frame, and sometimes we do want to use some things outside of frame, that's not going to be saved. I'm sorry, that's not going to be viewed right when you export it. So that's the timeline. So let's go ahead and let's open a file. So let's go ahead and we're going to, and I'm going to push to this side because I'm actually going to talk and read this through. And that way you can actually see it, so we can get through this probably a little faster than I want, so you guys can follow along and work it down. All right. So let's go ahead and open Adobe Animate, right? And for us Mac users, we're going to have a lot of different areas, and it's going to be the A and the N. All right. For those of you online, you have the Animate app inside your virtual apps, and we've went over that on Monday. So if you need to go back and look at that video, you can. So for us, we're just going to hit the Animate. We're going to open the Animate program, right? And there it is. It boots up really nice, right? And it talks to you about lots of different things. So the first time we open it, this is called the home screen, right? Which serves as a new document dialog box. So we're going to figure out what we want to do with Animate now that we have it open. Let me move this up a little bit, right? Actually, my parameters are all skewed. So let me shrink this a little bit. And you might want to do this on your own computer. Is just kind of play with the screen so you can actually get it in the right area, right? So you can actually see everything that's going to be on there. So you should be able to see everything in here. I'll probably shrink my face really low on the corner there. So this is the home screen, right? And you can do full HD movies, Android specific movies for and also games. You can make games with this program Animate, right? We can make banners. Remember when we looked at the video with the young lady, or the older lady too, young lady for me, but she was worked for TED Talks as the animator. I showed it to you yesterday, and so she does a lot of commercial stuff, and that's why you need banners here. Of course, this is a specific file for the iPad, and of course, this one goes directly to Canvas. And there's also other presets. Now, all of these are presets. In other words, all the little parameters are made specifically, so when you start creating, you can just focus on that and not worry about how the output is created, right? But you can dive into that a little more, but I'm not going to get into that too much. All right. So in this particular lesson, we're going to create a simple slideshow type animation, right? To showcase a few vacation snapshots. You're going to add background photos, some decorative elements, and the process you'll learn about positioning, right? So we're going to talk about learning positioning in the timeline. We're going to learn about layers, and you'll be learning to organize your files, right? And how to tell a story visually. All right. So again, you've downloaded everything. So we started Animate. Okay. Now we're going to open up a file, right? So now let's go ahead and we're going to go into the file, okay? And then we're going to, let me go ahead and open this. All right. And we're going to go to this open button here. You see that? We'll click open. And you're going to navigate to where you have your files. I have mine in animation, right? And documents, animation. And again, you could have put that in there. And we've already opened up the CIB. And we're going to go to lesson 1 because we are in lesson 1, right? And then the one we want to open right now currently is we don't want the start one. We want the one that says end because we kind of want to see the end working result, right? So we're going to be opening the final project. We're just going to look at the end one. So we're going to look at the one that says 01 end, okay, folder, and we're going to basically just double click that. And we're going to hit open over here. You can double click that. So we'll go ahead and open that. So now the stage changes and boom, we have some things happening on the stage. This is the stage. Okay. So yours may look a little different. And again, I may have to resize this real quick because I was working on it different a little while ago. So again, if you don't see everything, it may be hidden underneath. So like mine is actually was hidden underneath. So I got to resize everything. And there's a shortcut to do that, but I won't get into it. Again, here's some slide bars if you need to center your project. And down here, obviously, is a timeline. So I'm going to open up the timeline a little bit more so we can see what's going on down here. Right? And again, I did that by dragging the corner, like right in the edge there. So this is kind of what we're looking at here, right? So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to look for the test movie button on the upper right-hand corner of the application interface, right? So we're going to see the clips. There's 100. There's scene 1. All right. And this is a little different from the previous version. But very, very corner right here. Do you see this? That's the test movie at the upper right-hand corner. So it's a very, very corner. You can miss it because it has a little play button with that. That's called test movie. You see how I hovered over it and it's test movie? Hopefully I can zoom in on that in a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to play that and look at the screen. So it's going to exit this. So there it is. This is what we're going to be making. Kind of a simple animation, nothing too crazy, right? We're just going to basically flip over all of these different pages. That's kind of what we want to look at the end. Now, some of you might say, like, I'll just rename this and turn this in, Mr. Juarez. Well, it's not that easy. I can actually see the timestamp. So this one, the end has a different timestamp. There's a lot of things that go on with it. Even if you alter it, there's metadata data underneath that automatically tells me that it's not a recent edit, right? This is done professionally by the people who created these tutorials. So we have, kind of like a Ferris wheel, the Nathan hot dogs, and then a close-up of the Ferris wheel and then some stars, right? And then we have kind of like a blurred background. So that's exactly what we're going to be trying to do here, right? And now we can close this preview window just by clicking it. And there's different ways to close it, right? And then we're going to talk about different document types for a second. All right. So this used to be called Flash. Okay. Flash animation. That's what it used to be called. But now it's called Adobe Animate. And they changed over for a lot of reasons because the majority of the internet is not supporting it. That's a whole different class, a whole different discussion. But there are some file types that you need to understand. And one is the FLA file type and one that you just saw. So if I hit the preview button again, right, you're going to see SWF, shockwave file. That's what that SWF stands for. And shockwave is the precursor for Flash. So this is like a different iteration. In other words, this is a different kind of name change, if you will, right? But it's more than a name change. But for what we're doing, it's all kind of along the same lines of the software. So there was shockwave, which is shockwave file. You'll see that SWF file type, and then you see the FLA file type, which is Flash, right? The FLA stands for Flash, and then the animate file type also. So HTML5 is a big file type that we're going to work with later on specifically because HTML5 is supported by all devices. And that's the big thing you have to understand is when we're doing things digitally, we have to think about where all of your animations are going to be seen at. Are they just going to be on your phone? Are they going to be on a computer? Where are they going to be shown at? And we have to keep in mind how that is, how that works. So HTML5. So the playback or runtime environment of the technology of your final published files used to play your animation could play in a browser. And that's another thing. You want your animations to play online. Okay. And it only does that if we use HTML5 and JavaScript, right? And these are, we're not going to learn HTML5 or JavaScript. There's some couple of lessons that we can play with, but we're specifically going to work with the animation software. I'm not going to dive too much into there. All right. So when we export it, and perhaps we want it to YouTube. Okay, we want to make sure that this goes to YouTube, and we want to share our animation. Well, guess what? We can actually do that, right? We can actually do that with these document types. And there's 9 document types here, right? But we're only going to work with 2 or 3 of them, right? And so ActionScript is something that we use for the desktop browser, but we're no longer using Flash. So we're basically going to focus on ActionScript 3.0 as a drawing deal. Okay, so again, so for PNGs, so the ActionScript 3 documents will work in here. Action 3 scripts are a file type, and I know this is kind of over your head at the moment, but just understand that there are all these file types that you haven't really heard of, and they work in Animate, okay, in Adobe Animate. So if you've used ActionScript 1 or 2, or you have older files, some of you have had used Flash or animation before, they won't work. Only ActionScript 3 will work. So any tutorials that you see online, when you have a chance to pick your own, just understand that ActionScript 3 is only supported. Now that'll come back later on in this semester. All right, so we're actually going to create an HTML5 canvas to create animated assets, right? That's what we want to. We want to play back. You use HTML5 because all mobile phone devices, tablets, and everything, Chromebooks, all use HTML5, right? There's a WebGL that's for interactive stuff, like for if you want to click something, a button on your animation and it does something else, kind of like a little programming game. Flappy Bird is a great example. There's an assignment, a tutorial that you can create Flappy Bird, and I'm going to actually share that with you if you guys want to do that as a challenge toward the end of the semester. And you'll use Adobe Air for that, for desktop, and you'll be using Air for iOS and for Android. But there's a VR panorama. Now, I'm not going to get too much into VR because that's more like 3D animation, which this is barely starting to get into, but that's more for animation too. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we can convert some of these stuff, but we're actually going to create a new document. All right, so we're going to create something new. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to close this end file out, all right? And I did that by clicking on this little area. So I'll go ahead and open that again just so I can show you how to close it again, right? Is that there's a little X right here on the upper left-hand corner, right? All the way in. You have to understand there's a lot of little things that you may miss. So here it is. Right over here. I'm moving the mouse and I'll click over here. Boom, clicked it. And so now we're back to our home screen. Now we're going to create a new document. Okay. And at any time, if you want to get to the screen, you just have to click this little house. House will bring us here. So we're going to start on the home screen, and then we're going to look at all the different environments, right? So there's a full HD that will basically give you an ActionScript documents that we can export for movies, like a 19 to 20 pixels by 1080, like a 1080p high definition movie. The canvas option creates a HTML canvas document that's 550 by 400 pixels that are designed to actually be played back in web browsers a lot easier. All right. But we're going to actually look at this a little bit more. And again, this is part of the lesson. We're not necessarily having to jump in and grab everything. I'm giving you a walkthrough, a thorough walkthrough, so you understand where we're at. So we'll click presets here. We'll click more presets, right? And what you're going to see is we're going to see a lot of cool things here. We have all these cool little samples down here. And there's 6 categories that we actually can look up here. Social, game, education, ads, web, and advanced, right? We're going to click a category to display the preset size and layouts that are available to each one of them. So if you look over here, we actually have the 7th one, which is character animation, which is where it's at, right? And so if you click social, you see that the presets change, or you put game and you hit presets change. Education, ads, remember, like they said, animation is, there's a lot of work in different areas. Ads is a big industry, so you can tell that the advertisers use these presets a lot. Banners, rectangles, leaderboards, etc. If you just want something on the web, there's some cool things that we can actually add to the web. And there's specific phone types too. If you're going to be coding for, I'm sorry, not coding, I teach the coding class, but the animating for an iPhone 5 or an Android 16, you can basically do that. And now I will say, when you're working with animation in any of these phone types, it's better to do like iPhone 4 or iPhone 5 instead of doing the iPhone 12, because if it plays on an iPhone 5, there's a really good chance that it's going to play on all the modern iPhones as well, and perhaps even a lot of Androids. And of course, we have the advanced tab that's going to show you all of the advanced presets as well, right? So in the center of the dialog box, it displays all the available platforms. We can select the document type here and dimensions into the width and height of boxes. In the platforms area, in the center dialog box, we're going to select ActionScript 3, and we just talked about that right now, right? ActionScript 3, because it's HTML, and it's basically where we work and build all of our assets. It's kind of the engine underneath the animation, right? And we're going to choose the dimension of the stage over here. Now the stage, obviously there's the stage at a big concert, and then there's a stage at Richland High School, our stage, or in our theater. There are different sizes. Same thing here. We have to tell Adobe Animate what size we want our stage. And in this particular case, we want it 800 for the width, right? And 600 for the height. Go ahead and do that now. Okay. And you can pause this at any time if you want to get through this and you just kind of like, you forget this and I'm moving a little too fast, you can pause it. Or if I'm moving too slow, hit 2x or 3x if you can, and I'll talk faster and you'll burn through this tutorial if you already got what you need to get. All right, I'm just making sure that you're able to do this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll put that, okay, and we're going to click create. So we got our preset ActionScript 3, and we have 800 by 600, which is basically the size of our stage, and we're going to hit create. Okay, we'll hit create there. Boom, and there we go. This is where we're at. So we've already set up our first. If you got here, you guys are awesome because you just created a new document, and it's something that should be celebrated because that's part of creating. Starting the creation, because we all want to get to the part where we're drawing and coloring and all that stuff. But setting up your project is an important thing, and we can't skip that, and that's really important. All right. So what we're gonna do here is now we're gonna save it. Before we do anything, we got to save our file, because look up here on the upper left-hand corner, it says untitled, and we don't want to be working and then all of a sudden our computer crashes and you won't be able to do it. Those of you are going to save it in the U drive. For us on Macs, I'm going to hit file, right? And you can hit file, and then you're going to hit save. It's going to bring up a dialog box, right? And so for the Macs, there's a little arrow right here, right? You can click that, and it opens up more. And obviously, I have my documents folder, animation, okay, animation 2020, lesson 1. And again, this is a lot of nesting, but it's important, right? Because I want to stay organized. I want to find my stuff every time. So I'm going to be in lesson 1, right? And I'm going to save. I'm going to go into here, and I'll go to the start, I want to go to O1 start, right? And I want to name this O1 underscore working copy dot FLA. Oh, I doubled it. So I'll do it. FLA. What does FLA come? Oh, it's Flash. It used to be Adobe Flash. That's why we have this FLA. So we know this is lesson 1 and working copy. I'm actually going to go ahead and we're going to leave that there for right now. And it sounds good. So we're going to hit save. As soon as you do that, we're going to save that. All right. But again, it says Flash, but we are working in Animate. And so it works with this. Now, XFL, it preserves more things, but we're going to talk about that in a later time if we have to. But for right now, for what we need to do, we're just going to save, and you're good to go. Now, if you look on the upper hand corner, working copy FLA. Now you know exactly where to open this if you want to save this and work on it later and continue working on your files. So you're organized. So lesson 2 is going to go in the lesson 2 folder. Lesson 3 is going to go in the lesson 3 folder, and that's how we work, right? It's not going to change throughout the semester. We're going to be working with this stuff, and you're going to be with me this whole time, and I'll be with you. All right. So, so let's go ahead and let's look at some of these things, and let's get to know your workspace. All right. The animation work area includes the command menus at the top of the screen, right, which are all these up here. Okay, these are all menus that can have scroll down. They're all at the top, and you can add elements. Okay, you can create all the objects for your animation in your Animate, or you can import elements that you've created in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Adobe After Effects, or compatible applications. So, if you had the Illustrator class, if you had Miss Strickland for digital interactive media or graphic design, and you've used Photoshop and Illustrator or even After Effects, you can actually bring that file, any of your files, and you can bring it into Animate, and we can animate some of those things, especially if you're working with Illustrator and you're really good at, creating the pieces, your layers in Illustrator or Photoshop specifically, you can independently move those around. Really cool. And that's where you find a lot of strength of Adobe Animate. Okay. There's a lot of interface configurations, but in the Essential Workspace, Animate displays the timeline, which is down here, the stage, which is this, the tools, which are here on the left-hand side, right? And then we have, of course, our panels right here, our properties panel, right? And our edit bar that's right up here. And we've got our output section there, but we're not going to get into that yet. Okay. But there's a lot of different communications. You can if you grab something here, right, the properties, and you move it around. Oh, I moved that around. What's this behind here? Oh, there's clip art, assets. I move that around. Oh, there's a library. So if you've ever moved things around and you're getting lost, right? Whoa, where am I going? And everything looks kind of weird, right? Don't fret. You can always come back here to Window, and you can always go to Workspaces down here. And then you can just go ahead and hit Reset Essentials. Boom. Do you want to reset to its original layout? Yeah. Put everything back the way it was. Simple as that. If you ever open up Animate, for some reason it's not where you left it, you can always reset Essentials. And here's the thing. Once you get comfortable with this, and you can create your own setup. Maybe you want the tools on the top and you want more space, or maybe you want more panels on the bottom, or however you want to configure your space, you can do that. But for right now, we're going to use Essentials so we can stay at the same pace, and you can actually see all the tutorials, how they're going on. All right. So you should have gone over this through the geometrics, but that was just a brief overview of what we need to do. And again, there's not a lot of tools like in Photoshop or Illustrator. It's very streamlined, right? And of course, if you look at these boxes down here, I clicked 1, 2, 3. I want you to think of these little boxes down here as note cards from our your flip book, right? And if we laid all the cards out in a row, that's all this is, right? That's all of these little squares. Or each of these are a frame. I just wanted to get that into your head. Think of that. So if you're looking at that and you're thinking like, whoa, that looks kind of cryptic, think of it as note cards all across, but they're digital, right? And every time you click one, you're going to see what the note card is on the stage. Hopefully you make that connection. So it's very much what you've done before analog. Now we're doing it digital. Okay. So we got the workspace down. Again, the edit bar is up here. Okay. And you'll see it as you're editing things populate here, and you can close the files here. Your application bar is up here. You can see all of the little application deals, right? And application bar is up here. And then, of course, we have your properties menu over here, library, assets, so on and so forth. And, of course, we're going to choose to create a new workspace, right? So you have a few preset panel arrangements, workspaces, to better suit your needs. So, again, this is part of the lesson. We're going to actually just go through some of these workspaces. So, again, going up, workspaces, and you go to small screen. If you're working with a little small screen, it changes things around and you can resize it. Let's go into another workspace. Let's look at developer. If you're a developer, right? So it's going to have libraries. It's going to have areas so you can actually code. A compiler error. So that's more of a programming thing. Again, you can create video games in here, right? So then you also have workspaces again. So it's window, workspaces, which is third from the bottom down here. And then you can go to let's go to a classic, because that's more where you want the actual timeline up on top. Maybe some of you are comfortable with that. Now I'm going to have to shy away from this a little bit for you guys, for especially beginners, because the tutorial or what I'm going to be doing, it may be in a different spot and you're going to get lost. Like, where's this at? Well, it's always better to have it reset in your essentials. So that's where our basic tutorials are going to be made out of, right? And so we're going to go ahead and reset the essentials, and we're good to go, right? So if you want to save a workspace, let's just say, again, I wanted to, the tools for some reason over here with everything else, because I don't want anything on that side. I want everything over here, and I want my stage by itself, and I want it clean over here, so I can zoom in, right? I can zoom in even closer, maybe 200%. Whoa, it's a little too much, right? Zoom in up here, 150. It's a little bit too much. 140. So I want to see everything, not just the edges. 130. There we go. So let's just say I wanted to do that. So I'll go to Window, Workspaces, and then here where we can do this in your workspace, right? In your switcher, okay, we can actually add different workspaces. Go ahead here, and we're in our basic. Let me go back to this real quick. Reset essentials. Boom. Oh, let me go ahead and go no. Reset essentials. Yes. All right. So we're going back here. And again, we can always save it again in our workspaces, right? So at this point, you may want to go ahead and work with this. And again, there's also up here on the upper right-hand corner, if you see, look at this thing called Workspaces. This actually has all of the workspaces that you have as well. So there's two ways to do it, right? And let's just say, actually, let me do this real quick. If I wanted to save it the way I did before, and I move the tools over here, and maybe I wanted the tools right in the center. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but I'll go ahead, come up here to the workspace and call this Juarez Crazy Workspace 01. Boom. Right? So now it saved it. So I can go up here and I can go to Essentials and go back to Essentials. But if I want to go back to my crazy one, I'll come up here to the right-hand corner and I should see where it says Juarez Crazy Workspace. Boom. And it resets it over. So every panel moves over here, and I want you to see that this is how your panels and everything, the look. If you move something around or something happens, you can always go back to this basic layout. And that's one of the most important things I want you to learn today, is that you can't get lost because you have that secret reset button, right? Let's go back to where we started, and that's where you're at with that. Okay, so at this point, you should have a really good understanding of how all of this works. And again, by this point right here, by default, animate interface is dark in the dark mode, right? If you want to change the interface to a lighter gray, you can choose, go up here to animate, and yours may be different at the PC one, right? And you can do preferences, wherever preferences is at, okay? Edit preferences, all right? And up here, you can basically, you can kind of roll with it. Let me see where we find this at. Under general preferences, the theme, we can go to a light gray. Whoa, that's, my retinas are burned. Wow, the lightest. There's even a lighter one. Crazy, right? No, thank you. I like dark mode, but there's even one called the darkest. Ooh, nice. Should I just do dark? I can kind of see the lines on the edges better, but if I go to the darkest, I don't know, that does something to my eyes. I love it. Everything's so crisp and clean. I'm gonna leave it there. Sorry guys, I love it. All right, so you can choose your dark mode, or you want to do light mode, you can do light mode. So again, this is all your preferences. We're just touring, all right? Again, so the big right rectangle in the middle is called the stage, right? Just like with a theater and the stage, I just kind of went over that earlier, right? There's also rulers and grids. And so if we go to rulers and grid view, so if you want to go to view up here and you want to see rulers, just click rulers, boom. And see up here, it has all the little rulers. If you want to kind of center everything and get it right, you can use that. If you want to use a grid, we can show the grid, and boom. Now the grid won't print out. It's just for layout purposes. If you want things aligned perfectly and you want things in a line, and you can move them when you're freehand, when you're in your drawing, it's very easy to use this grid paper to kind of create in your projects. So I think that's really cool. I really like it, right? And of course, we have the lock guides, and then of course there's snapping. If you snap, that basically, if you have an object, it won't let you put it exactly where it's at. It'll get it closest to the grid. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take off the rulers, and I'm going to take off the grid. Now, you can edit the grid, but I don't want you to mess with that right now, all right? So again, other positioning aids and guides, rulers, and all that. By default, you'll see the gray area off the stage over here on both sides, right? You can place elements that won't be shown. So let's just say that you're having an animation and that you want something that comes in off of screen. Let's just say like a bouncing ball, and it can go up, and then it comes in at an angle down, and then up, and then out. So you can have the ball outside where the audience can't see. Just think of these as big curtains on the stage. And as it bounces in and out, you basically have only the stage to look at, right? And you can clip different things. So if you want to clip it, you can also, if you don't want to see anything, there's this little button over here. See where it says clip content outside of the stage? When you click that, it'll clip everything out. Sorry. And then of course you unclip it, and it'll basically, so if you don't want to see everything, you can kind of just mask it or hide it at the moment, and then you just click it again and it reappears. So if you ever put something on the side and you think you lost it, just click that little button and you'll be good to go. Okay. All right. So now that we're here, you can view the stage in full screen mode. Okay. So you can press F4 to toggle the panels, and the escape to return to the standard mode. So if we go to view, okay, and then we go to screen mode, and we go to full screen mode, boom, go to full screen mode. Then you can actually see everything, right? You can see what's going on. Hit escape, right? And it brings you back. Again, if you want to go to screen mode again, full screen mode with menu bar, that's full. Then you can kind of see it that way. I hit escape and bring us back right where we started. All right. So let's go ahead and let's change a couple of things here. Right, to scale the stage so that it fits completely in the application window. Remember how I was messing around with it? You can choose view magnification, fit in window, right? So we can go to view, magnification, fit in window, boom. Now it fit in the window, boom, just like that. And you're like, Mr. Waters, why didn't you do that earlier? Well, part of it is because it moved around. So I'm trying to figure out, because I'm used to different versions of Adobe Animate. 2018 is the last version I worked with. So there's been 2019, 2020, and I think we're on I think this is 2021. No, this is 2020. All right, so one version behind. So there's some things that I'm still going to get. You'll find me get a little snagged. I'll get hit a snag when I get to there. All right, so that's what we need to do. Now we're going to change the properties a little bit. So I want to change the color of the stage color along with document properties such as dimensions, frame rate. It's also available in the properties panel, right? Which is the vertical panel to the right of the stage right here. So here's all the stage stuff that you can change, all these things. See how this little white square, it says stage? That's the color of the stage, right? And the parameters are set because we set them at the beginning for 800 by 600, all right? That's what we created in the new document. So what we want to do right now is we're going to leave it the way it is, but I want to look at the properties panel and click the background color box, right? I want to look at this. Click the background color box next to the stage, and let me see, background color box next to the stage, and choose a new color from the color palette. So the background color box is just this white square right here that I was just talking about. All right, boom. What does it say? Grant access. If it tells you to grant access, just go ahead and grant access. And hopefully I don't have to go around the room, but I might have to do this for everybody here in the room. Hopefully this was already done before. Okay. Now we're ready to go. Sorry about that. For those of you online, you may not have to deal with this if you're working with a PC, or you might have to a little bit. Let me know what happens. All right. Give me a shout out. So we'll click the stage. Now look at this. We can change the stage to any color. There's a little eyedropper, and you can change it to everything you want. All right. Any color. So if we're going to, let me click again. It's like a disco thing, so you can actually go through it. So nice. But what we want to do actually, we want to just actually, there's a formula here. All right, this is called hex code, and you can go online. So Coca-Cola, and the University of Texas has the burnt orange. They have their own number for their burnt orange, right? 33333. And it's going to give us a dark gray. Boom. Now, that's a hex code. I'm going to show you this little trick. That's kind of like not in our tutorial, but I want to open up Safari real quick. And I'm going to go to UT burnt. Let me go to Google first. All right. So then I'll go here, and I will go to UT burnt orange color code. Ah, nice. So go to color code. It's hashtag BF5700. So if I click that and find that color code, and you can find any color codes, by the way, everything online, you can find it. Just type in color code. I go in here, and right here, I'm going to paste this. Boom. Oh, nice, right? So now you know how to get any color and bring it into your animation software, right? So that's a cool trick. You can basically get any color online by just doing what I did. To do a Google search for the code, get the code, copy and paste it, and put it in. That's how cool it is, right? But they want us to use that threes, right? Like 6 threes. So I'm going to go ahead and click this just because the tutorial's kind of wanting us to do the dark one. So I'll do hashtag 333333. All right, boom. That's the dark one that they want us to do, right? And again, we can choose any color we want to at any time. All right, so we can choose any color we want to at a different time. So since we're in dark mode, that gray is a little too dark. I'm actually going to go a little lighter. I'm going to go to this gray. Okay, that way it can contrast better with the things that are on the outside. So the way I did that is I went and clicked on the little box again. But I just used my eyedropper and just clicked the second gray down. All right, boom. All right, so again, we can change the properties at any time that we're working with it. All right, so let's work with the library panel real quick. So we're going to come up here to the library panel. It's up here on the upper right-hand corner, and it says library. I'll click this, and I'll click it again a couple of times so you can see it. And then it has working copy FLA. Now, This is a tab that's you're going to hold all your assets. In other words, if you have other files, if you have things that you're bringing in from the outside, let's say your scans or your photos, and you're working with all that stuff, they kind of live in this area. So you want to make sure that you're familiar with the library. If you're looking for things to bring in, we usually put them in the library first. Kind of hold our stuff, just like our own library. If you want to pull a book from our library, we go get it and we bring it to we check it out and we kind of take it home or we use it at school. All right, so. We're almost done, by the way, guys. We're almost done. So the library panel displays contents of your documents library, which is where you store and organize symbols that are created in Animate. So when you create stuff, you can put them in there too. The library lets you organize library items in folders and see how often the item is used in a document. So you can sort the items by type. You can also create folders, okay, in your library to help group items. So if you have a lot of pictures, you can basically create a new folder right here, right, hitting that new folder, and you can call this pictures. Okay, and I'll leave that there for right now unless it messes something up. But now I have pictures. Every picture that I have here, I can just put them in there and just having them all scattered. I can have one pictures. I can have one symbols. I can have different things. Video. I'm not going to say video. We're not going to get to that yet. But I can actually have like Photoshop files or Illustrator files, and I can always organize the things there. All right. And you can access this, all the items on the stage. So you can drag and drop things from this library onto the stage itself. Right. And to display the library panel, you can choose Windows, right, and then go here where it says library, and it'll display it. Oh, or not. But you can go to Window, and you can go to Libraries, boom, and it brought it over here. What's going on here? Oh my gosh, I just messed this up. Not really, because remember what I told you: working spaces or workspaces, reset essentials. Yes, bring me back to where I need to be, and we're here at the library again. Okay, clicking on it. So again, if you mess up or something happens just like I just did, you just click that workspace essentials, and it'll bring you right back to this screen, and you're good to go. Right, you're ready to rock and roll. All right, so let's go ahead and you can hit library or press Command L. It'll bring that up. All right, now let's import some stuff into the library. All right, so often you'll be creating things directly because we have tools that we can create different objects here. But most of the time you're going to want to import stuff, right? You want to import things that you draw, items, assets. That's what we call items that are not from or that we put into the stage. We call those assets. We're going to want to be putting that stuff in there. So typically we want to have them organized and we want to bring some stuff in there. So we want to store them in the library. So in this lesson, you're going to import several images because remember we're going to make what we saw at the beginning. We need the image of the deck and the Ferris wheel and the Nathan's hot dogs. We need all of those pictures and we want to put them in the library, right? So we're going to import that stuff. So the way that we do this, we're going to basically choose File up here, Import, and then Import to Library, right? And click that. So again, File, Import, Import to Library, and then it'll bring you to this Start menu. I'm going to cancel this, so do it one more time. File, Import, Import to Library. And now we see some things that are grayed out. That means we can't put those in the library. We can only put the things that we can actually click on, right? So we can choose all files, right? And if the menu isn't visible, we have to click Options to a button to activate it. All right. So if you're not seeing this, you have to click the Options button to activate it. Which if you have an Options button, you'll have to click that. So here's the deck, and then I want to import this. Now I can open one, and guess what? Look, it brought it in. Here's a little preview. If I want to see a bigger preview, I just bring that down, and I did that by just getting at the edge and making it bigger. So there's one, but let's go ahead and try that again. Import to stage. And I want to open up more of them so I can actually just drag and select them all 3 items, and import. Some of you may have to hold down Control or Shift if you're on Android or a PC. So for us in Mac, we can just click and drag, and so we can highlight all 3. Conversely, and we can click one, hold down the shift button, hit the last one. That's a little trick. There's a little button called command. We can click one, hold down command, and then select one individually. So there's lots of ways in Mac so we can select everything. And then we'll just open, and that way you don't have to click over and over and over again. So we just imported all of this stuff to the stage, right? That's cool. I didn't want this in the stage. I don't know why I put it in there, but I'm going to delete it. Boom, right? So it basically brought in everything into the stage, right? From the start. Now we can download multiple files. Everything's in our library, and we're ready to start our cool deal, right? So now what we want to do is we want to start putting things into our stage, right? We're going to put things into our stage. We can choose Window, Library to open up the library panel if it's not already open, and then we drag in the PNG file, right? We have JPEGs. There's a background PNG. We're actually going to grab that one, and we're going to just drag and drop. Boom, it's in. Okay. Now let's go ahead. I actually did that kind of bad because it's not in the center, but I'll just move it around. Just click and drag. And if I want you to notice these lines on the left and the bottom, there's a white line when it tells you when you're at the edge. And I'm going to go down, and there's another white line. It tells you I'm at the edge. So I think that's where I'm at. I'm supposed to be at, right? Approximately the center. Right? And that's how we basically start looking at the stage. All right? So we've done a lot today. I'm not going to focus on any more. We're going to go to lesson 2. We're going to part 2 tomorrow. I just wanted to get you to this part. So hopefully you're comfortable with Animate. We're not going to move on further. If you got to this part, you are done, and you can enjoy the rest of the period. The rest of you who are new to this and are struggling a little bit, I'll be walking around to help you guys out. All right. And the last thing we need to do is hit File, and I want you to save, right? And then that way you can hit File, and you can say Close All, all right? Or in Mac, let's go ahead and just hit Quit Animate, all right? Go to Animate and then Quit Animate. So we can basically quit out of that, okay? So it'll save it. It'll have all the resources. So you guys can see that now we are ready to go. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll continue this. We're going to work with a timeline. We'll work with the layers tomorrow. But that's all we need to do. You guys were great today. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.